"You'll work for me, this isn't optional." And then at the retirement party he said, "I'm ashamed to call him my son." Everyone laughed in that moment. I realized he didn't see a son, not anymore. I packed bags and left homeless, but he started to ruin my life so that I could not get a job and build my business and almost survive. I had no idea it would start a big war between father and son. My dad owns a car dealership, one of those old school family empires where everything is about status, appearances, and loyalty to the brand. Think fake smiles, forced handshakes, and golf club power games. I grew up in that world and I hated every second of it. From as early as I could remember, it was clear I was expected to take over, no discussion, no room to dream or decide for myself. My name is Jake. My dad, Bill, ran things like a dictator. He micromanaged employees, talked down to customers behind their backs, and expected me to sit in meetings since I was 12 just to learn how real men talk. He didn't raise a son. He raised what he thought was a clone. Here's the part that still makes me angry. He never asked what I wanted. Ever. Even when I was busting my ass in high school designing websites for local businesses on the side, pulling in real money. He just scoff and say, no one needs a website when they've got a handshake and a firm voice. So senior year rolls around and one morning before school, he drops this on me over black coffee I didn't even ask for. "You're starting in the lot this summer. Wash the cars, learn the grind. Then sales, then we talk partnership." No pause or question, just a command. I said no. I didn't even think about it. I told him I wanted to start my own thing. Software, maybe e-commerce, not cars. He laughed, actually laughed in my face. Then the laughter just stopped and he went dead serious. "You'll work for me, Jake. This isn't optional." That night, I packed a duffel bag and left. I didn't even have a plan yet. I just knew if I stayed, I'd rot from the inside out. Now here's where it gets wild. That same week, I saw a listing on Craigslist. An ad agency was looking for a junior dev to help overhaul their old website. It was remote, contract-based, and barely paid more than minimum wage, but it was real. I took it from my friend Matt's garage. Fast forward 2 months and I'm freelancing like crazy. Word spread. Clients referred other clients. I built landing pages, mobile apps, the whole thing. Within a year, I had a team. Small, scrappy, but sharp. Meanwhile, Dad kept sending me these passive-aggressive texts. "You done playing with your little toys yet? The family business has a real future. Come home before you burn out. We don't quit on family." Then came the kicker. He cut me off. No insurance, emergency funds, not even a birthday call. Fine. I matched his energy. I used it as fuel. 3 years later, I had an actual company. We developed a SaaS tool that helped small local businesses like car dealerships, ironically, track leads and manage customer interactions better than whatever outdated CRM Dad's salespeople were fumbling with. We called it FlowDrive. We launched it at an auto expo. Dad's rival dealership signed up right there at the booth. They loved it. The following week, my dad's name showed up in my client database. Turns out his sales manager signed them up behind his back. Dad must have blown a gasket. I found out later he fired the guy on the spot. Now let's skip to the real scene. Dad's retirement party. Last summer. Huge event, catered, live music, local business folks, and family friends everywhere. My mom begged me to come. "Just show up, Jake. Keep the peace." I even brought a gift. Framed photo of him and me at the dealership when I was a kid. Back when I still believed he wanted what was best for me. I hadn't spoken to him directly in 2 years at that point, but I showed up out of respect. And then, mid-speech, mic in hand, he's thanking everyone, old friends, employees, suppliers. People clapped, toasted, laughed. Then he goes, and of course, my former employee, Jake. He motions toward me. I froze. People clapped politely. A few glanced at me, confused. He wasn't done. "Some of you know Jake. He left us a few years ago to pursue other things. Unfortunately, I can't say I'm proud of how he turned his back on what we built here. Sometimes your own blood disappoints you more than strangers ever could." Then he took a sip of champagne and moved on like it was nothing. I stood there, he crawling up my neck. My hands actually shook. My own father introduced me like I was a stranger who got fired and then told 100 people he was embarrassed I was his son. My mom looked like she wanted to disappear. My cousins whispered, "And me?" I just stared at him. He didn't even glance back. I dropped the gift on the table and left, but I wasn't humiliated. I was done. I had receipts. I had the truth. And if he thought this was the end of it, he had no idea what I was about to do next. I barely made it to the parking lot before my phone buzzed. Group text. My aunt, then my cousin, then 2 guys from high school who somehow scored invites to the party. "What the hell was that speech? Your dad really called you an ex-employee? Dude, did you do something to him?" My phone was lighting up like I'd crashed a wedding, but I didn't reply to a single one. I just drove, no music, thoughts, just white-knuckled silence all the way home. The worst part wasn't what he said. It was that I wasn't even shocked. That speech? That was Dad, the real him. For once, he wasn't sugarcoating it for company. Now, you might think I should have clapped back right then and there. Maybe some Hollywood moment where I take the mic and destroy him in front of the whole room. Trust me, I fantasized about it. But I've learned that revenge isn't about yelling. It's about precision, about choosing your moment when it hurts. 2 days later, I get a text from my dad just, "Next time you're ready to grow up and talk like a man, you know where to find me." Yeah? Well, I was done talking. I took a breath, called my assistant Evan, and said, "Start looking into dealerships in our metro area. Mid-sized, ones that are hurting." He goes, Okay, you thinking about expanding Flow Drive? No, I'm thinking about buying a dealership. Evan just went quiet. Then, you're serious? Dead serious. Because if my dad wanted to publicly embarrass me like I was some dropout slacker, fine. But I was gonna do something bigger. Something he'd feel. I wasn't going to fight him at his level, I was going to beat him at his own game. Let me give you some background. Flow Drive wasn't just doing well, it was exploding. We were already powering over 60 independent dealers across the state, and we'd recently closed a round of funding with 2 angel investors who loved my pitch for direct integration with EV inventory software. And one of those investors? Former executive from Carnation, a major franchise chain that hated local legacy dealerships. He didn't just want to grow Flow Drive, he wanted to dismantle the old system my dad represented. I told him my idea. I wanted to purchase a struggling lot and turn it into a tech-first dealership, one that ran with zero paper, optimized inventory rotation, virtual test drives, AI-powered pricing, the works. He was all in. Within a month, we bought out Marshall Auto, a fading third-generation lot 15 minutes away from my dad's dealership. The place was bleeding money. Zero digital presence. Yellowed posters from 2004 still on the windows. I showed up day one with a demolition crew. We gutted the office, built a sleek new showroom, touchscreens on every desk, coffee bar, live chat agents, rebranded as Momentum Motors. We didn't just sell cars, we sold experience. And when we launched, we had 5 times the foot traffic of my dad's dealership in the first weekend. But I wasn't trying to destroy him. Not yet. I just wanted him to see it. So I bought space on the billboard right across from his lot. Big black background, white font, no logo, just a sentence. There's a better way. 1.4 miles south. He must have seen it the same day, because I got a voicemail from him around noon. Is this your little temper tantrum? You think buying a lemon lot makes you a boss? You think a few apps and touchscreens replace legacy? Then he said this. I'm warning you, Jake. You crossed the line again and you're not family. Not family. That word sat on my chest like a brick, because I realized in that moment, he didn't consider me blood unless I obeyed him. That same week, we started getting calls at Momentum from his customers. Half of them thought we were him. The rebrand confused people. His name wasn't even on his own signs anymore. He'd handed over branding rights to a franchise group a year ago. I didn't correct them. I just sold them better cars for better prices with better service. You want to know the twist? 2 of his top salespeople quit and applied to my dealership. One of them even said, Bill's been losing it ever since you left. He yells more. Talks about you like you're a virus. I hired them both. Gave them raises. And then one random Thursday, I get a calendar invite. Subject line, family dinner, mandatory. From Mom, I called her immediately. What's this about? She sighed. Your father wants to clear the air. Says he's willing to have a conversation. Please, just come. Now here's where it gets truly off the rails. I show up. It's not dinner, it's an ambush. Whole family there. Aunt, uncle, cousins, even my little sister home from college. Dad stands at the head of the table like it's a courtroom. Before I even sit, he starts. I want to know what the hell your plan is. You trying to steal my customers? Embarrass me further? What do you want from me, Jake? And I said one sentence that shut down the room. I want to win without becoming you. Silence. Then he smiled. That cold, sarcastic smirk he gets when he's about to snap. You think you're better than me? You're still playing in my world, son. You'll never escape it. I leaned forward, calm, confident. You're right. I am in your world, but I'm changing it. And guess what, Dad? I slid a folder across the table. It had the projected quarterly numbers for Momentum versus his dealership. We already passed your sales last month. He went pale. And then he laughed. Not loud, not mean, just hollow. Enjoy your little empire, Jake. It won't last. I stood up. Maybe, but at least I built mine. Then I walked out. I thought the ambush dinner was the end of it. Nope. 3 days later, I walk into my office and Evan looks up from his desk with this half-confused, half-panicked face. Hey, Jake. Have you checked the reviews on Momentum's page today? I hadn't. I opened my laptop, went to our Google business page, and my stomach dropped. There were over 50 one-star reviews posted overnight. All of them looked copy-pasted. Stuff like, pushy staff, bait and switch tactic. Owner is a spoiled rich kid who treats customers like garbage. Or, tried to sell me a car that was in an accident. Total scam dealership. Thing is, we didn't even have 50 customers that week. This was coordinated. I called Evan, get every IP address, every timestamp, and flag them. Now, he's already on it. Turns out half the reviews came from accounts with no profile photos, no other reviews, and all were created within the last 24 hours. Then Evan says, dude, I think your dad's behind this. I wanted to say no way, but I couldn't. This reeked of him. The tone, the pettiness, the desperation to control the narrative. By 3 p.m., 2 dealerships I'd never heard of had blocked me on social media. Another small dealership I'd had lunch with the week before emailed me a change of heart about using our software. It was a full-blown smear campaign. So I called him. Did you really just create fake reviews to tank my business? There's a long pause. Then his voice, smug as ever. I don't know what you're talking about, but maybe you should think twice before turning your back on the people who built you. Built me? You didn't even believe in what I do. He just chuckled and said, doesn't matter. The industry's still mine. Then he hung up. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who cries revenge every time someone wrongs me. But this was different. He wasn't just trying to beat me, he was trying to erase me. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my Uncle Mark, my dad's older brother, black sheep of the family, left the dealership game in the 90s, started his own chain of used car lots in Florida. We'd only talked twice since I was a kid. kid, but I remembered one thing clearly. He hated my dad more than I ever could. He picked up on the third ring. Jake, I said, Uncle Mark, I think I'm ready to talk about your offer. Silence. Then he said, let me guess. Bill went nuclear. Worse. And I told him everything. Mark started laughing. Not in a mean way, just amused. You know, I warned your dad years ago. Said his ego would cost him the people who actually gave a damn. You were the only smart one in that family. I asked what he meant, and that's when the Real story came out. Turns out, when I was about 13, my dad had a chance to sell the dealership. A huge offer. 8 figures. Full buyout. Retirement set for life. But he declined it, not because the number wasn't good, but because he didn't want outsiders taking over his legacy. Mark told me dad made one condition. Jake becomes successor or no sale. And when the buyers pushed back, dad told them, my son will run this place whether he likes it or not. I don't raise quitters. That's when I realized something. This was never about cars or business. It was about control. He didn't want me to succeed. He wanted me to obey. And now that I had the audacity to make it on my own, I was a threat. Mark offered to help. He said he had connections in media, some allies in the auto space who hated old school dealers like my dad. He asked if I wanted to fight fire with fire. I told him I didn't want revenge. I wanted exposure. We planned a campaign. Not dirty, just honest. A YouTube miniseries titled Old Road, New Drive. 3 episodes, documentary style, about outdated car dealership models, shady family empires, and new tech-driven innovations featuring Momentum Motors as the shining example of the future. We never mentioned my dad's name, not once, but everything in it made one thing clear: his way was dead. We dropped the first episode on a Monday morning. It went viral. Local news picked it up. Auto blogs shared it. People started driving to our lot just to say, saw you on YouTube, love what you're doing. But it wasn't just strangers who noticed. A week after the episode aired, my mom showed up at my office, unannounced, visibly shaken. I hadn't seen her since the retirement party. She sat down in the conference room and said, your father hasn't slept in 4 nights. He's losing it. He's convinced this whole thing is about destroying him. I told her calmly, it's not. It's about surviving without him. Then she did something I didn't expect. She apologized, said she let him dominate too long, said she didn't realize how toxic it had gotten until she saw what respect actually looked like, seeing me lead a team that liked me, that trusted me. Then she pulled out something from her purse. A letter, folded, handwritten, signed by my grandfather before he passed. I didn't even know it existed. Inside it said, Jake is the future of this family. He doesn't need to sell cars. He just needs to be free. And at the bottom, don't make him your shadow. Let him shine. She never gave it to my dad. Said he would have burned it. I stared at that letter for a full minute. Then I looked at my mom and asked, why now? She said, because I'm tired of watching him lose the son he never deserved. Then she walked out. And that's when I knew this wasn't just a business war anymore. This was legacy versus truth. And the truth was just getting started. A week after mom handed me that letter, things exploded. Let me walk you into it. I show up at Momentum Motors like any regular Thursday. We had just crossed a major sales milestone, 300 units sold in a month, and our inbox was full of partnership requests. Everything felt solid. Then my ops manager Olivia runs into my office, pale and stammering. Jake, you need to see the news. I pull it up on her phone. It's a local business channel. Front page, lawsuit filed against Momentum Motors, claims of stolen tech and data theft. I thought it was a joke at first, but then I scrolled down and saw the name of the plaintiff. Bill Martin, my father. He filed a lawsuit against my company, claiming FlowDrive had stolen proprietary systems from internal dealership processes that I'd allegedly accessed during employment. I hadn't worked for him since I was 17. He was calling my business a theft of his ideas. My blood ran ice cold. We immediately looped in our lawyer, who literally laughed on the call. This is nonsense. It'll get thrown out in discovery. He's trying to drag you. But that wasn't the point. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to bury me in legal fees, force investors to walk, scare my team, rattle my clients. The next week was chaos. Emails slowed. A few partnerships paused. My staff kept asking if their jobs were secure. I told them yes, because I meant it. But I also knew my dad wasn't done. This was a man who would burn his own name down to make sure I didn't rise from the ashes. Then came the call that flipped the board. It was from one of his former employees, a guy named Craig. Craig had worked in service at my dad's place for 15 years before getting pushed out. He was bitter, quiet. I hadn't seen him in years, but he said something I'll never forget. Jake, I know where the bodies are buried. You want proof? Check your email in 10 minutes. I did. What he sent me changed everything. Photos, documents, video, all dated. Some of it showed false VIN reporting from my dad's dealership, altering mileage and service logs before reselling trade-ins as certified pre-owned. Other files included under-the-table side deals, cash for car flips done without corporate approval. But the real kicker? An audio recording. It was a conversation between my dad and a vendor. Don't worry about the software clause. My idiot son will bury himself in code before he figures out we were watching him build FlowDrive. That's when it hit me. He had been spying on me for years. I ran a scan through our old shared server, and boom, there it was. A remote access log linked to a device that pinged back to his office IP. It wasn't just passive spying. He had screenshots, file copies. He even downloaded drafts of old beta versions of my app before I had a name for it. And he used it to build his own knockoff version, which never launched, but the lawsuit? It was to cover his tracks before I found out. He wasn't suing me for theft. He was preemptively striking before I exposed his. We brought everything to our attorney. This isn't civil anymore, she said. This is criminal. That weekend, I met with a journalist. A real one. Not some blog or drama YouTuber. A respected local reporter who had covered corruption cases before. I gave him everything anonymously. All the documents with clean timestamps and metadata. He looked at me and said, "You realize once this prints, it won't just ruin him. It'll expose the whole ecosystem." I nodded. This isn't just about revenge, I told him. It's about the truth. If that truth burns him, so be it. The article dropped the following Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. By 9:15, the phones were ringing nonstop. Clients, lawyers, reporters, and one very angry man. My dad. He called from a private number. I picked up. "No greeting. Is this what you wanted?" he said, voice shaking. "You happy now?" I said nothing. "I gave you a legacy, a name. You took a piss on all of it." I finally replied, "You gave me a prison. I escaped. That's not betrayal. That's survival." He didn't yell. He just whispered, "You'll regret this," then hung up. By noon, his dealership was trending on local Twitter. By the next day, they suspended operations at his location pending review. And that retirement party he threw for himself, the one where he publicly shamed me, it got reshared with the headline, "Retired dealer caught in data theft scandal, introduced son as ex-employee weeks before lawsuit backfired." The article didn't just go viral locally. It got picked up by a national auto industry blog by that Friday. Headline, "Legacy dealership implodes after data theft allegations against former owner. Son behind competing tech company responds in silence." Silence, that was the key. I didn't give interviews, didn't do a victory lap. I kept running Momentum Motors like nothing had happened. My dad stopped showing up at his dealership. The franchise board called an emergency vote and suspended his stake. You know how hard that is? These people once backed him no matter what. But not now. Not after that kind of exposure. I heard through a supplier friend that he'd been ghosted by half the guys he used to do business with. By Monday, his house was swarmed by news vans. By Wednesday, one of his former sales managers flipped to the feds. It should have been the end, but instead, something worse happened. For him, anyway. I got a visit from a lawyer, not his, mine. She walked into my office with a thin manila folder and a raised eyebrow. I knew that look. "There's something you need to see," she said. She pulled out a letter of intent from a holding company. They wanted to buy Momentum Motors. All of it full buyout. 7-figure offer. And at the bottom, the parent company name, Gable Automotive Group. I recognized it instantly. My dad's oldest rival. Same guy who tried to buy out his dealership 15 years ago. The one dad rejected because he wanted me to be his heir. The guy he told to get lost. That same group now wanted to buy my business. I stared at the offer in silence. My lawyer said, "They're serious. You'd stay on for 18 months as CEO. Full creative control. They want you to build your platform into a national chain." It was a dream deal, but I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. That conversation at the dinner table when Dad said, "You'll never escape my world." And here I was standing on top of it. So I made a decision that shocked everyone, my lawyer, my team, even my mom. I turned it down, flat out. I said no. I'm not selling to them. I'm not handing over what I built just because it's convenient now. Instead, I did something unexpected. I bought his land. See, with the franchise severed and legal troubles mounting, Dad's dealership was officially marked for liquidation. The land? Listed at auction. Quick sale. Most people assumed it would get scooped up by some commercial property firm or a Starbucks. Nope. I sent in a private bidder, quietly through a trust, and won it. I bought the physical property, the very building my dad made me mop floors in at age 13. The one he claimed would always be ours. When the papers closed, I drove there alone. No cameras, no team, just me and a locksmith. I walked through every inch of that lot. I stood where I used to wash tires, sat in the same sales chair he once told me I wasn't charismatic enough to earn. And then, I took the keys, locked the front door, and left the building in complete silence. I didn't demolish it, didn't turn it into a cafe or an office. Instead, I had a sign put up. No branding or logo. Just this. Not for sale. Not for rent. Just done. 2 days later, my dad showed up. I know because one of my guys was still doing a drive-by to check the signage. He said my dad stood in the parking lot for almost an hour, just staring at the sign. Not yelling, not angry, just still. I don't know what he thought in that moment. Regret? Shame? Nothing? Doesn't matter, because the next time I saw him wasn't in person. It was at his bankruptcy hearing. Yep, he filed 2 weeks after losing the property. His legal team walked away. Most of his assets were seized or frozen. And that was when he finally made a move no one expected. He showed up at my office. No lawyers, no press, just him, looking small. He asked for 5 minutes. I gave him 3. He sat in the chair across from me, same one investors had once used to offer me 7 figures, and he said, "You win." I didn't say anything. anything. He looked down, fumbled his words, then said something I didn't think he was capable of. I don't have anything left. You were right. I did it all wrong. I waited. Then he said, do you hate me? I looked at him, and I said, no, I pity you. Then I stood up and opened the door. He didn't argue, didn't beg, he just walked out. And as he did, I realized something. I already had what he never did. Freedom, respect, and peace. 2 months after my dad left my office, I didn't hear from him again. Not a text, not a whisper, but I got a phone call from a lawyer. Not mine or his. A probate attorney. I thought it was a mistake, but the man said, Jake, we need to talk. There's a will. Your father's. I blinked. Wait, he's... The lawyer paused, then said, yes. I'm sorry. It didn't register at first. I didn't even know he was sick. No one told me, not my mother or sister. Nothing. He had passed from a stroke in his sleep just a few days earlier. And that wasn't even the shock. The shock came next. My father left everything to me. Every asset that wasn't frozen in legal hell. What remained of his personal holdings. Stocks, bonds, some small businesses under shell companies. And a letter. Handwritten. Sloppy. Like it had been drafted under stress. Or guilt. I sat on the edge of my bed that night, holding the envelope, just staring at my name on the front. Jake. No, son. No, Junior. Just my name. The letter wasn't long, but every line cut like glass. I didn't know how to be proud of you without feeling ashamed of myself. You built everything I never understood, and I thought that made me weak, or old, or useless. Maybe it did, but you proved me wrong. You didn't fail me. I failed you. I said you were an ex-employee. That day, that was me projecting. I felt like an ex-father. If you're reading this, I'm probably gone. I hope for once I leave something that helps instead of hurts. Bill, I read it 3 times. Couldn't cry. Couldn't even breathe right. Just sat there stunned. I never thought the man had it in him. An apology. A real one. A week later, the funeral came. I didn't speak, but I showed up, sat in the back row, watched as people mourned the man I spent years trying to escape. And when it was over, I walked alone to his grave. I placed a single key on the dirt. Not a house key, not a car key, the dealership key, the original one, the brass-colored one he gave me when I was 13, the one I kept in a drawer, buried under receipts, never used. I left it there quiet, no big speech, just walked away. A month later, while sorting through the rest of his estate, I found something else. A safety deposit box, my name on it. Inside, an old camcorder, the kind with tape reels. I took it home, dug out a converter, played the video. It was me, at 6 years old, standing on a chair in the showroom, wearing an oversized dealership polo shirt, holding a toy steering wheel. My dad behind the camera, and his voice, look at you, kiddo. One day, this whole place will be yours. Then silence, then softer. But if you ever want something else, I hope you chase it harder than I ever did. He never showed me that footage. He buried it.